Okay, so I'm Cynthia, and I am the host of the reality series CPS the Horror Stories. And I'm in the state of California, and the purpose of these interviews is to just reveal and share the destruction and nightmare CPS, which is Child Protective Services, causes to families as they kidnap our children and throw them into the system where they get abused and everything else instead of being with their family. I had an open case. I lost my children. I did get them back after a couple of years of fighting. So today I'm interviewing Desiree. Do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Desiree. I am from Orange County. I was born and raised. I am a foster kid, or I was a foster kid up until the age of 5, and I had 13 siblings that were also in the system as well. So I'm speaking out just to share my story and just to make others aware of what's really happening.
Wow. 13 siblings, and you were in the system as well.
Right, and to top it off, I'm 49% Native American. That makes things a little bit more complicated in this case.
Well, I'd like to hear all of that. So let's start with why it makes it complicated, and then let's start with when you were a child, why you were in the system.
Well, from stories I hear from my brother, my mom had went to the store and left us in the hotel room. I was 2 and he was 5. And somebody called CPS on her and we were taken. And, you know, she was a heroin addict. She did what she could to take care of us, as, you know, I remember her struggling and going through, you know, trials and tribulations, and I understood that at such a young age, but we were taken, we were put into foster care, and I didn't get out till I was 5.
So do you feel, looking back and in your case, that that was the right choice to remove you guys from your mom?
No, because ever since then, I live with this sense of abandonment. You know, I have it affect my relationships with men, my relationships with even my own children. You know, I feel a sense of like overprotecting them, you know, and it's just like I need to learn to let them go and live their own lives. But it's just, you know, being taken is such a horrible feeling, and the feeling of not being wanted, not being accepted, it hurts.
I get it. That's hard.
It's very hard, because even relationships with men, it's hard to deal with, say, rejection, even though it's not me, it's them, you know. It sucks.
So how was it in the foster system for you?
My foster parents loved me and they wanted to keep me, and I wasn't truly happy, but I didn't know any better, so I just accepted the fact that I was there. But I was exposed to sex at 5. One of the foster children in the home exposed himself to me at the age of 5, and I ran because I had an older brother there with me, and I ran to him, and I was able to get away before anything happened to me. I don't blame my foster parents, because not all foster parents are bad, but it's just the reality of being in the system.
Wow. Um, I'm sorry to hear all this. Like,
Yeah, it sucks, but
it's
I'm
horrible.
glad my dad was able to get me out of the system at 5 years old, but it still didn't take away that PTSD of being taken as an adult. I can't even give the DMV my address. That's how bad it is.
Why?
Because I feel like they're gonna come and just take me. I feel like the police are just, I never give out my address to the government. I'm sorry, but I don't. I can't. I'd rather be homeless than have to sleep or not sleep at night because of that.
So your dad got you out.
Yes. And I went to live with my grandma, which was a mother of 10 children, which my grandfather died in 84, the year I was born. And she was very tough on me, and I understand her love for me at that time. I didn't know what she meant by it when she hit me or didn't let me play with dolls, didn't let me, watch cartoons and things like that. I grew up very, very fast. And I understood why she made me wash my clothes by hand, made me cook my own breakfast at 5 years old.
Why do you understand that?
Because she knew that I wouldn't have the luxury of having a washer dryer. She knew that I wouldn't have the luxury of having a mother to teach me how to clean, how to cook, how to care for myself. She'd have random underwear checks on me. She'd just say, drop them. And if I had one stain on my underwear, I'd get my world rocked. But I understood that later on as tough love. She did not want me to grow up to be on drugs. She did not want me to grow up to be like my family grew up.
But at 5 years old?
Yes. I stayed with her until I was 10. My mom came and got me and took me away from her because I was being abused, yes, but my grandma had 10 kids and she was raising them all alone when my grandpa died, and she never moved on. She died just being married to my grandpa. And I look at her and I see, wow, that's a strong woman. If she can go through a lifetime of, people in and out of her house taking advantage of her, kids on drugs, things like that, I can do it.
Was that your mom's mom or dad's mom?
My dad's mom.
Was your dad around?
Yes. My dad got me out of the foster care system when I was 5. I still remember that to this day. And he took me to church, Victory Outreach in Santa Ana.
Uh-huh.
And I grew up in church when he taught me how to love, and he taught me what God's love was and everything that I needed to know. So he was my mother and father.
But so did he live at your grandma's with you?
No, he moved into the men's home and went through the rehabilitation and, learning how to live a normal life and, through the eyes of the church. And I got to see him every weekend, which was great. And we bonded then.
What was his drug of choice, if you don't mind?
I don't necessarily know what his drug of choice was, but I don't believe it was heroin. I just believe it was just a lifetime of crime. I don't really ask him that information because I just always see him as a church-going, fun-loving father.
Yeah.
I don't want to remind him of his wrongs. So I just embrace him now for the good he's done.
So was that the last time that you were in the system?
Yes, I grew up. I was in Orangewood in Orange County. So I know the pain of being taken and thinking that nobody wants you. Even though my father did want me, I was never able to see my mom because of the system.
So, as an adult now, you have 3 children. How old are they?
I have a total of 5 children altogether. My son being 20, my daughter being 17. I have another daughter, which she's 14, 6, and I have my son, which is 1.5,
How old are you?
36.
Your son is 20. You had him young.
Yeah, because I was looking for love in all the wrong places, I would say. At that age, I was, wanting that love that I couldn't totally get from my father, because he did get remarried and he did marry someone that did not like me at all. He couldn't buy me shoes because she would just get mad, even though she had a daughter as well. So I left the home at 13. And I, of course, moved in with my boyfriend at the time. And we were together 5 years. And we conceived 2 children.
13, you moved in with him.
Yes, because I did not want my father to be unhappy. And I said, I'm not going to be the reason that you guys break up. I'm going to just leave and I'll be fine. I'll let you know where I am. And I did. And he took care of me. I finished high school. But of course, one thing leads to another and you end up having children at a young age. That's part of the reason, is that I wanted that love that I never had as a child. That love you can never replace. I don't believe love is something between a man and a woman. I think that's an illusion. I believe that it is only put there so that you can see that child. True love is between you and your child, not between a man and a woman. That's my honest belief. And I got that love once I had my son. My son is my world. He's, I didn't know what I was doing at the time, but God sent him for a reason. And that love is the same love that God gives us. So.
How old was your boyfriend?
He was 16.
And did you
But
live?
at the time I got pregnant, he was 18, I was 16.
Did you live at his parents?
Yes. I got a job and I've been working ever since I was 16 years old to support my son and my other children. For the past 3 years, this is the only time that I have not held down like a 9-to-5 corporate job.
Wow.
So 3 of the children I have are in the system. The other 2 were never in the system. The 2 older ones.
Right. Where are the 2 older ones?
They live with their father at this time, which they have lived with their father for the past 3 years.
Are you close to them?
Very close to them. They left me when they were 16 and 14. So I raised them since birth. And I lost my job in 2015, and it was due to a toxic relationship. I was with this man for 13 years. So I've only had 3 boyfriends my entire life. Nobody believes that, but it's honestly, to God, it's true. The first one was 5 years, second one was 13 years, and the last one was 3 years. So I've always been taken.
So when did CPS get involved?
Well, at the end of that 13-year relationship, I was seeking housing because I was the breadwinner. He was Mr. Mom. He would take care of the kids and, I would go to work. But that kind of got toxic after the fact that I had my my 3rd daughter, which is, she was a high-risk pregnancy. I'm diabetic. So I told him the night before I went in for surgery not to drink alcohol. I said, don't do this to me. Don't leave me. to have my baby by myself. He didn't listen. So after that, I lost all respect for him. I couldn't even look at him. And he thought I was cheating on him. So he became possessive, and he became stalkerish, and he just wouldn't let me sleep at night. He would try to rape me in my sleep. He would try to be with me, but I didn't want to be with him. So it was kind of like running from Freddy Krueger. You know, I'd have bad dreams. So I just picked up and left, put all my stuff in storage, and moved on. You know, he couldn't find me. I had $10,000 in my bank account, and I was looking for a place to go. Orange County is a very populated place, so rent here is like $1,800 and above for 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, and I had 4 children. So the occupancy is not on my side. You know, like there's no one that's going to rent to you a studio with 4 children, even though the child is less than 2 years old.
Right.
So my ex at the first one, Gilbert, he told me, let me take the kids for the last month of summer. You're moving around, it's better for them. Let them enjoy it. I was skeptical, but I did it. What he did was he went to child support, told them he took possession of the children without my knowledge. And by the time they were ready to come home to start school again, this was like in 2016, like around June or something like that. They were going to start school in September. He had already taken possession in court and filed for custody, even though he'd never been there for them. They were both 16 and 14 at the time. He'd never spent the night with him, never was around them. He didn't know them. What he did is he bought both of them iPhones and didn't give them any chores. For me, I'm a mother of you earn it. You know, I humbled them, and I said, you don't get anything unless you earn it, because in this world, there's nothing that's given to you.
Agreed.
And he intercepted my teachings. I felt robbed. I felt like it was a slap in the face because my children didn't want to return home. I had taken a caregiving job in December of 2016, and it was an old lady that was living out of Whittier, and she had a big house, but she was by herself. So what I did was I moved in as a job, so I would pay. She was kind of like a hoarder, so I cleaned up the entire home. It was like a cathedral type ceiling as well, and she had an extra room. She had 3 extra rooms, so I worked for the one I was in, and the other 2 I would be paying for with the child support that I got from the other 2 children.
Yeah.
It didn't happen that way because he stopped the child support, and that created conflict between me and the woman. And she ended up, she got very mean in the end, yelling at me, calling me names, things like that. And I said, I can't work like this. I'm sorry, I will have to resign from this live-in caregiving job. And I did. My father moved in with me in the beginning when I started the job because I had 2 small little girls. And once my children...
With you to the lady's house?
Yes, we moved into her house. It was a live-in caregiving job because I could not find an apartment that would accept us as far as occupancy goes. Right. So I said, okay, great. It's great. I get a job and I get a place to be. Didn't work out so well because she became bitter, and I ended up getting a job before I can actually move out. So I, tried to get a job and save up enough money for us to, officially move.
Right.
And it didn't happen that soon. So she evicted us from the house. She stated that she said that I was neglectful. She bought food for my children, fed my children, did all of this, which was untrue because I was on legal aid at the time, meaning I got food stamps. And I can prove that I bought my own food. And, so CPS got involved because she'd called in spite because I would not speak with her.
Well, and if you're a caregiver, how is she going and running all the errands?
No, I was the one that was running. Yeah, I was the one doing everything, buying the food, getting, but I had county aid at that time. So I purchased my own food separate from hers.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. If she's saying that she's buying your kids food, how is she doing that with you're the one doing everything?
Exactly. So the CPS gets involved. I move out of the house. I'm out in my car, and I send my daughter, the youngest one, which is 2 at the time, to go live with my uncle. But his house is very small. So my daughter Carly said, "Oh, my friend said that I could stay with her so I can continue to go to school." And I said, "Oh, really?" So I met with the family, and I told them that, this is just temporary so that I can keep them out of the system. Because I said, I'm in my car right now. I don't care about myself. I just want my children safe and out of the system.
Yeah.
Andrea Rincon is the lady that accepted my daughter into her home. I didn't have a choice. I know that I could be looked at as a bad mother, but I gave her the decision making as far as her education and her medical, in case I was not able to. At 4 months pregnant with my son, Noah, which is going to be 2 this year in August, I had Noah a day after day. But going back to me making placement for my daughter, I did what was in the best interest of my daughter. I didn't want her to be in the system. I didn't want her to be in my car with me. I didn't want her bouncing around different hotels and things like that. She had seen enough with her father being verbally abusive, physically abusive, and I just wanted her to have stability. And that's something that I couldn't offer at that time, because I tried my hardest to fix the caregiving thing, and I couldn't do it. My father was in the home with me the entire time I caregived, and they kept the case open in 2017 for an entire year. Technically, they're only supposed to have it open 6 months. They investigated me for the entire year, so I ended up leaving my daughter with this lady in fear of the system taking her for the entire year. So that time I lost with her. I did visit her frequently, but I was out there trying to make a living to get my own place. So in 2017, I got a place. I was stable, but I was 4 months pregnant with my son, which I'm a high-risk pregnancy. I wasn't able to care for myself at the time. My other daughter was still in the care of my father. And I said, I can't bring her home right now because I'm going to the doctor every other day because I'm a high-risk pregnancy. I'm type 1 diabetic, and I have to go into the doctor every other day. I can't even take you to school. So it extended her time with that lady for another year until I healed. But after I had my son in 2018, August, the doctor cut my bladder during surgery. So I was not able to recover as fast as I wanted to. So I did have a meeting with Andrea Rincon after I healed and went through that whole emergency surgery and recovery. And I had a tube in my stomach. I had a catheter in for about 3 months. I wasn't able to care for my newborn son.
What was the surgery for again?
The surgery was a C-section. All of my children were born C-section because of my son being breech when I was 16. So I can't have a child naturally.
Yeah, that's crazy. I had to have C-sections too, and when I had my full hysterectomy, they nicked my bladder as well.
Oh no, that's the worst pain. And now I can't even sue because of the year time lapse. And I'm like, well, you don't know the catastrophic damage until after 1 year. So it's kind of unfair, but that's another vote. So I had a meeting with her, and I asked her, you know what, my daughter's going to high school now. I could bring her home. I'm stable. I've been in my place for 2 years. I want to bring her home. She hasn't lost enough time with, us, and I apologize for everything happening so suddenly, but I'd like to bring her home. She refused. She says, I don't want her to go home with you. Even though that the investigation in 2017 found nothing as far as me being guilty of neglect, me being guilty of anything that the allegations, came about. After 1 year, they closed the case. And since I was homeless, I would take the children into the CPS office and meet with the CPS social worker every month for 1 year. They tried to get me to drug test the entire time. I knew I wasn't a drug addict. I was a type 1 diabetic. I had syringes and things like that because of my illness.
Right.
So they tried to label me as a drug user. So I knew my rights, and I said, are you there?
Yeah. Listen.
Okay, sorry. I knew my rights, and I said, no, I'm not going to. For the entire year, they could not get me to drug test. And the case closed. So after having that meeting with Andrea Rincon in 2019, this was like the July 2019, somewhere right before September. I bring my daughter home. My son has a seizure, and I had to call 911. Have the paramedics come out to my home in Pomona and take my son to the hospital by ambulance. And I had to send her back, Carly, back to Andrea, along with my daughter, which was 5 at the time. So both 14 and 5, I had to send them back because I was, I wanted to bring her home, but not tell Andrea because she was against it. But I tried to do the right thing for my daughter because she'd been with this lady for 2 years. I didn't want to just abruptly bring her home just because I want to throw my parental rights around. I wanted her to be happy coming home. So we were just in the process of talking and trying to work things out where we both can be involved in her life. And Andrea made it seem like it was a bad thing.
And Andrea is just a friend, right?
Yeah, it's just a friend. She's not a blood relative at all.
Okay.
So she made my daughter feel bad, and I was trying to make my daughter feel better about it by bringing her home and trying to talk to her and see what she feels about it without her being present. And my son ended up having that seizure, sent her back. I had to stay in the hospital, Mona Valley Hospital, with my son overnight, and I had to have her watch my six-year-old now. And that was that. I didn't actually go back to that conversation because my concern was for my son, which was 1 at the time. And 2 weeks later, a drug raid happens in my home. I rented a home in Pomona, which was one house split into 2 units. I had my own lease. I had my own entrance. I had my own parking. I did not know the other side of the wall. It was just separated by a wall. I didn't have anything to do with the drug raid. It's written in the CPS report. They, had me at gunpoint. They had my children at gunpoint. And I was in custody for 5 hours while they ripped apart the entire place.
Why was there a drug raid?
The other side of the wall was cooking methamphetamines, and that is why my son had a seizure. I connected the dots.
And you didn't know that?
I did not know that because I heard children on the other side of the wall crying all the time.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, what in the world? Oh my, I was shocked beyond belief. And I was just like, because we ran the AC all the time, 24/7. We never turned that thing off.
You're sharing.
So hot. And I don't know, I didn't grow up around drugs like that, I wouldn't know the smell even if you told me, but I heard babies on the other side of the wall all the time. And I never would have assumed that something like that would have been happening because it's just unreal. My landlord evicted my neighbor before they evicted my neighbor when I first moved in. They evicted the one that was there before because they had 4 cars. And this other neighbor that moved in, after the other neighbors moved out, this was like a month after I came, they had 1 car, and then they ended up with 2 cars, and then they ended up with 3 cars, and then all of a sudden 4 cars. I was like, well, why did she evict these people? Because they have 4 cars now. I can't even park in the driveway because she's complaining to me that, I'm going to break the fire code because you guys can't exit all at the same time. I'm like, well, I'm a paying tenant. Why can't I park in my parking space now? It's because I drive an art car. So I drive a Crown Victoria that's blacked out, looks like a total cop car. And I think I freaked out my neighbors. So to top it off, my Wi-Fi code is FBI surveillance vehicle, so I'm pretty sure that kind of ticked them off too. But it was just a joke. I play around like that. And she told me I had to start parking on the street. So my suspicions believe that she was in on the entire thing. They were Spanish speaking only. I could not communicate with these neighbors. I didn't even look at them. I wanted to get my mail one time, and the neighbor pulls in with his car. I'm standing out there to ask them, I need my mail or whatever. And he gets out of one car, gets into another, and then pulls out the driveway. Like he didn't see me. So they avoided me at all costs. And I thought that was very funny because she became very hostile after the fact that the house was raided. I couldn't move back. I didn't want to move back. I told her, I told the investigator when they came out to see me during the entire raid, the CPS investigator, which is Ivan Flores, I'm moving out right now. As soon as you let me go, I'm gone and I'm not coming back.
Yeah.
And he says, you have every right to do that. Do what you think is safe. I had my son and my daughter, which was 5 at the time, so 1 and 5, at gunpoint in my yard, held in custody for 5 hours in the blazing sun. This is September 10th of 2019. And we weren't offered water. We weren't offered anything. They studied me like a freaking hawk. They looked at my body language. They were just looking at me the entire time. I had to stop looking at what they were pulling out of this house next door to me. They pulled apart tires. They confiscated 80 pounds of methamphetamines, drugs, guns, everything out of that house. But nothing was found on my side of the unit, so they cleared me of having anything to do with what happened on the other side of the wall. But protocol is CPS needs to be involved because of them coming in contact with children. And I said, okay, well, that's fine. So CPS came out. Ivan Flores says, I'm going to get you for a dirty house because, look, your house is not sustainable for children to be in. I said, well, duh. I'm just like, you guys flipped it upside down and then you want to get me for a dirty house. I don't understand you, but I'm leaving here. Since I'm a foster child myself, I moved in with my uncle. My uncle flat out told me, you tell them where you are, you need to leave. He does not like them.
He said what? Tell them what?
I told CPS where I was, meaning the address, I would have to leave. And I said, okay, I can tell them that I'm moving around, or, I flat out told them the truth. I said, Ivan Flores, I can't tell you the address because my family doesn't want you to have it. Can I meet you in the office if you need to speak with me? And he says, no, I need an address for you. And I said, well, I don't have one because I had to leave my home in Pomona. He tells me, well, since you don't have an address, I have to send you to court. And I said, for what? He says, oh, you don't have an address. I have to send you to court. And I'm like, well, I don't understand for what. I wasn't, I'm thinking no home, no investigation, because they were only supposed to come back for a dirty house. I was wrong. They come back. He comes back anyway. He sees the eviction notice on the gate from the lady, even though I moved out the same day, September 10th, and I paid it on the 1st every month. And he still asks me, where are you? And I said, what do you mean, where am I? I told you I moved out. So he still continues with the investigation. And I'm like, what do you want from me? He doesn't tell me anything. So what do? I contact his supervisor and I ask, what is it that you guys want from me? I'm traumatized enough. I'm trying to get, recover with my son having the seizure. I need to go see doctors. I need to do a lot of things, but you guys are stressing me out beyond belief. What do you want from me? They told me, go drug test. And I have that call recorded. I'm not sure if am I allowed to play audio on this?
Yeah.
He says, don't go to court. Just go drug test for us. And I say, okay. Where do I go drug test? He doesn't send me the referral. I'm waiting for the referral. So I call the lab themselves and ask them if I can just walk in and go drug test. And they say, no, you need a referral. And I say, okay, well, I'll just wait for them to give me the referral. The very first court date is on November 5th. They told me that was not a detainment order, but it actually was. I spoke to him on October 15th. The judge signed the detainment order on October 25th. The court date for me to go in with my children was November 5th. And that is for detainment of my children. So I didn't understand why they wanted to detain them. I call back to the CPS hotline, or, you know, to speak with a social worker. They told me I need to go to court and I need to bring my children. When have you seen anybody ask for you to bring your children in to court? I told my dad, and my dad said they're going to detain them. And I said, why? And he says, well, it just sounds like they're going to take them from you. And me being a child that was taken, I said, no, they can't.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
if you get them back, it's when. And I'll never forget that feeling I had, because my stomach just sunk into, I don't even know how to explain it. But I just knew that I had to look into this further and protect them before they were taken. Because my baby was 1 year old. He had a seizure. My daughter was 5. She was traumatized by the raid. And she said, Mama, I don't want to be taken. And I said, I'm not going to let you be taken. But I had no power, because I was in fear. Because why did they want my children when I hadn't been arrested? I hadn't been charged with anything. At the time, I was recovering with my son, and they said, oh, your daughter's not in school. And I said, she's not in school because I'm recovering with my son, for one, and for two, I need to get all her immunizations done before I can actually enroll her. And my main focus was on my son, you know? So I had to take my daughter in to get immunizations, but it took a while because Medi-Cal is not accepted by every single doctor. So they try to get me for educational neglect and medical neglect. So by December, I had their immunizations done, and I had her enrolled in school. I was actually her teacher. I did K through 12.
What grade was she in?
First grade.
Okay.
Kindergarten is not a requirement.
Right.
So she automatically got to go to the first grade. And I said, well, why do you guys say I neglected her? She knew her ABC. She knew how, she knew the basic stuff, because I have a background in education. I worked for an online university for 5 years. And, it wasn't, I ran my own school in Long Beach for, having a contractor school. And, they try to get me for having neglected her in those terms. When they came out, they asked me the yes or no questions. Do you smoke? Do you drink? Do you do any recreational drugs? Do you, et cetera, right? So I answered yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. And I answered yes to smoking marijuana, which my suggestion to all parents, don't ever admit to smoking marijuana, because of the fact that they use it against you. I did have my recommendation. I did work for a dispensary at one time before my child was born. And they try to say that I was a marijuana abuser because they could not investigate my home further. Do you see what I'm saying? When they came out, they saw the eviction notice. They saw that I didn't live there anymore. They're only supposed to come out for a dirty house. They made something else up after. So if they don't see anything wrong with you, they will make it up.
Yeah.
They made it up. I missed the court date on November 5th, which I didn't find out until after the fact because I was just doing what the investigator told me to do, and I'll play the call for you.
Okay.
I suggest all parents record
Everything.
you do. Okay, so I don't know if you can hear it.
Barely.
Let me see.
Okay, so one of the things that you should do is stay in communication with Ivan. Because he's the investigator on the case. So if you're going to be meeting the homeowner, just need to let him know.
Yeah, I wanted to because that was my natural reaction to get out of here, get them out of danger. You know, what if they're like cartel or something, or what if they're like gonna reach out? Hold on, I gotta play it back.
Can you put it closer?
So that's why I didn't want to go back. I didn't want to be caught in the crossfire or whatever the case may be.
Okay, so what we're going to do is, you're not going to have court right now. We're going to further investigate the situation. So do not go to court. We're voting at the court. But we do need you to cooperate. And we're going to send you to drug test. So Ivan sent her to go drug test. Promoter. And if they're going to be an issue with the drug test.
No, there's not. And I have a question since my son had experience. Okay. So that is my proof that I was told not to go to court.
Right.
I tell this to the investigator, the new DI, whoever it is that takes over my case, Susie Avalos. She doesn't listen. She says, I don't care. The only other option that you have is to turn the kids over. And I said, for what reason? You have to give me a reason why. She refused. She said, just show up to court and bring your children. And that was that. That was that. This was December 5th of 2019. This is about when the coronavirus boomed after. I was my daughter's teacher. I got her immunizations. I did not live in the place that they were investigating. I was compliant with everything that they were asking me to do. I never received that referral to go drug test. I even have the phone call of when I called the lab and I said, can I go drug test today? Because I was asked to. I had the lady tell me, oh no, you have to have a referral to come and drug test. And I said, okay, I'll go ahead and wait for the referral. Never happened. He never sent it. I didn't get that referral until after I was released from jail on April 1st of this year.
And tell me why you were in jail?
Okay. They put out a warrant for my arrest, a ward of the state warrant. I spoke with Susie Avalos December 5th. She told me there's a warrant out for your arrest if you don't turn in your children. You will get a felony charge if you do not turn in your children. And I honestly never heard of this ever happening to anybody. I just kind of like, what? You guys are crazy. First of all, you don't give me a reason why you want to take my children. I was never arrested and never prosecuted for anything that happened on the other side of the wall. I didn't have anything to do with it, or else I would have been arrested myself. What does the investigator do, Ivan Flores? He goes to Carly's location, which is with Andrea Rincon.
Right.
Let me rewind it back a little bit more. I forgot a big part of the story. Andrea Rincon, after I make the attempt to bring my daughter home, she reports to the DCFS that I abandoned my daughter with her. And
Wow.
she moves from one location she was at in Whittier to another location in Hacienda Heights. I find my daughter on her location. She basically abducted my daughter in the eyes of the law because this was before the raid. I get pissed and I decide to throw my parental rights around. I contact the sheriffs the LA County Sheriffs, take the sheriffs to Andrea Rincon's house, try to pull my daughter away from her. The sheriffs do nothing. What do? They said, oh, she seems like she's happy. They seems like she's fine. She's happy where she is. But mind you, my daughter in Andrea Rincon's care in 2017, August, when I had my son, my daughter had a quarter or dollar size coin burn on her hand. That wasn't consistent with the story she was giving the teacher at the time. She said she got a cup of noodle out of the microwave and burned her hand. A dollar size coin size burn on her hand. I'm not the smartest person in the world, but my motherly instincts say that's torture. That's either a cigarette burn, a cigar burn, teaching her a lesson about something that she did. And this is while she was in Andrea Rincon's care. So I was having my, but I never saw it. I never saw it, but I have it in the CPS report. So this is while she was in her care, not mine. I was having my son.
Right,
and
but didn't know you had a visit with her or something like that.
Well, they knew that she was in her care because they interviewed her, and I gave her a notarized paper saying that she can make medical decisions for her because I'm sick. I can't take care of her right now. So there was documentation stating that I didn't abandon her. I was there in her life. I just had medical reasons why I wasn't there physically taking care of her at the time. But the sheriffs did not remove her from her care. After that, the raid happened, and by the time I was able to get a watch commander on the phone, they already had a warrant out for my arrest. So I had to choose between my older daughter, which was 14, or my two younger ones, which was 5 and 1 years old. Because if I called the watch commander to go and take, then they would have taken all 3 of them.
What do you mean you had to choose?
I had to choose between calling the watch commander, knowing I had a warrant, or leaving her there and just fighting this through court. Because if I called the watch commander, they would have taken me in because I had the ward of the state warrant for the detainment of my 2 younger children already. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I couldn't do that because my 2 younger ones needed me. If I went to jail, who was going to take them?
Right.
Foster care. So I just stopped. I stopped taking the phone calls because they didn't tell me what they wanted. I said, what do you want from me? What can I do for you to get you guys to go away? You guys are giving me so much anxiety. I can't even focus on my son's recovery. I can't focus on getting my daughter in school. I can't focus. Just leave me alone and let me live my life. I need to figure out where I'm going to live and who I'm going to work for. Leave me alone. And they didn't leave me alone. They said I was missing for 6 months. My worker, Susie Avalos, did not call me for the entire time. I'm missing. I'm not too hard to find.
Right.
Coronavirus hits. Nothing on the shelves. You've seen the whole pandemic thing happen for yourself, right?
Yeah.
Nothing on the shelves. I was not able to get out and go to work because I was in fear of being pulled over. I was in fear of them being taken in such a sensitive time because their fathers were not present. So I knew if they took them by force, I would never see them.
Right.
So March 25th, 2020, I go out and I try to move further to Merced, okay? I'm taking a risk knowing that I could be flagged at any moment on the road and be detained. I try to get my children to safety in Merced. I get pulled over, of course, because it's a 6-hour drive. It's, inevitable. They take me in. I got a chopper. I've got 7 cops behind me. I get labeled in the paper. Sorry for my French, but it makes me mad. In the paper as being a child abductor, pulled over on the suspicion of having methamphetamines because of the association with the raid.
Wow.
What do you call it? Driving recklessly. But when I went to jail, I wasn't booked on any of that. They tried to book me on possession of having methamphetamines. I was shackled in the back seat of the squad car with my children. I was like Hannibal Lecter. I couldn't even hold them or hug them or nothing. When the sergeant showed up with his young recruits, they go to my car and they start searching through it. I packed my car down to the max because I wasn't planning on coming back to this virus. I was going to stay where it's country, where it hadn't hit yet. And he says, "Oh, what do we have here?" I never saw what they found. I never saw it. I wasn't aware it was there. I was just in shock, like, what are you talking about? The first thing he found when he went into my driver door was, "Oh, what's this?" Never showed it to me. Came to my side window and asked me, "Oh, do you do methamphetamines?" And I'm like, "No." "What are you talking about?" And
The needle, probably.
they said they found something in my vehicle with my name on it. So they told me in the report, it says that they found ecstasy and methamphetamines in the clear baggie with my name on it in the center console. This is exactly the per word what's in the report. I don't know how ridiculous that sounds to you, but
Pretty
it's pretty
ridiculous.
ridiculous to me because I drive a Crown Victoria. I don't have a center console. I don't know what drug addict would have their name on their baggie, like if it's
That's what I'm thinking.
like a lunch, you know. And methamphetamines and ecstasy are two different drugs. So which one is it? Make up your mind.
And how
So
I just
Merced,
have so many questions for them.
yes, exactly. So what do? I have a chopper. I have all of this media, right? I get out. I see my face in the paper. You know those mug shots you get on your phone,
Gosh.
like Crime Wave or whatever it is, right? Like the notifications. That is plastered all over the internet, plastered all over Facebook, plastered everywhere you could possibly think. And I'm looking at it like, what? You know, why is this out there like that? That is such like defamation of character. I can't even walk into a Sunday school knowing that like this stuff is out there. I'm not a child abductor.
Yeah.
I think it's in the best interest of my kids to get them to safe grounds. And you're labeling me as a child abductor. I build little kids' playhouses for a living. That's my side job. That is totally going to be down the drain if this continues to happen. So I contact the Merced Sun. I contact Facebook. I contact every single person that has my name out there plastered. I have friends. I have family. I have ex-coworkers. I have jobs that I've worked for. See this stuff. And I'm just like, there's nothing I can do about it.
Right.
I had to contact the Merced Sun, and they said, we have to talk to the DA and make sure that they're not pressing charges, and we'll take it down. The DA has not filed any complaints against me till this day for the possession of having a controlled substance. CPS picked up on that story, not because I have the police report, because it was a public story. They said, they tried to slap me down with a new petition. And I said, this is like double jeopardy almost, you know, because it's just like you're trying to get me for the same thing, but then now you think you have evidence. So I'm just like trying to figure out what the hell is going on. I hadn't seen a judge yet. They had all of my court dates planned ahead. I wasn't aware of the court dates. That's why I did not show up. And now I'm at the adjudication hearing, meaning that's where they decide whether or not my kids stay with me or they stay with the foster care. But
What is
never
it called?
Adjudication.
Okay.
And they didn't tell me about these classes. They didn't tell me about drug rehab. They didn't tell me about counseling. They didn't tell me about anything before I was arrested. But all of a sudden, after I was arrested, that's when they tell me. So basically, I'm set up for failure because I asked them, I pleaded with them, I begged them. I have those calls recorded, asking them, what do you want from me? They say, turn in your kids. That's it. That's all we want from you.
Who said this?
Susie Avalos.
Okay.
So I get her removed from my case because she began a kind of like a personal relationship with my son's father, kind of like, you know, leaking information out, like if I was drug testing, if I was drug testing, et cetera, et cetera. And I got her removed. They told me, oh, okay, well, she's having, you know, misconduct, or she's doing something she's not supposed to. Prove it. So I submitted audio of my ex and, you know, some girl talking about me. I assume it was Susie Avalos, but I can't be sure, but I submitted the evidence, got her removed. And I got another person, which is Maria Casillas. Maria Casillas is a very broken English person. I don't speak Spanish. So me explaining this stuff to her, imagine how difficult it's going to be for her to understand me if her language is Spanish, first language.
Right.
So I'm like, is this like a monkey wrench, you know? Are you guys just trying to mess with me because
Yeah.
whatever? I submit the fact that I'm 49% Native American. That does not matter. They do not care. The fact that my siblings have been adopted, and my mother told me on her deathbed that we were Native American, kind of connects the dots of being indigenous and being discriminated against. This is all kept, you know, hush hush under, you know, the government's eyes, because I honestly feel like I'm on the government shit list. In 2017, I got my license suspended because of a DMV mess up. They tried to get me for registration for a car I didn't even own anymore. It was 2 years. I'd submitted it back to the dealership, and that was that. They get me on that registration, suspend my license. I go through a DUI checkpoint. They say, hey, your license is suspended. They try to take my car, and I had to go to court and just prove that this is why it was suspended. It was a mistake. I fight this case for 6 months, even though I show paperwork showing that I didn't have that car. What does the DA do? Fullerton Court. They say, give us your DNA and we'll dismiss all charges.
Huh.
When the hell have you ever seen anybody ask for your DNA? I don't have a criminal background. I've never been arrested before.
How did he want you to give it to him?
Swab.
Hmm.
That's the same type of swab I did for Ancestry. Ancestry, that you do a swab. My sister actually did it. Do a swab and you submit it to Ancestry. They send you back your report as far as what you are. I'm 49% indigenous. I'm 41% Spanish. I'm 1% Congo, or like 2% African American. So even though I've provided them with this DNA, they still have not removed my children in the eyes of the ICWA Act. You know, they've done nothing. Since my children have been detained back in March of 2020, I haven't seen them. I have protection order on both of them for me, even though I've done nothing to jeopardize their well-being. The fact that I have that 911 call on my phone shows that I cared for my children. The best.
What do you mean you have a protection order?
Meaning I can't see my children unsupervised.
Who placed that?
I'm sorry?
Who placed that?
CPS.
So when was the last time you saw your kids?
March 25th of this year. They wanted me to get for failure to protect my children, but I want to play this 911 phone call while my son was having a seizure.
Okay, I'm gonna transfer the fire department. Stay on the line. No problem. 1445 South Hamilton. Confirm. I like 35. Come on with the transfer. Go ahead, ma'am. Okay. Listen, ma'am. Listen, I'm gonna.
What happened to it?
It's and I have to press on the.
Can you help? I need you
the screen.
What's the address? Is that a house, apartment, or business? What city? I'm sending you the paramedics. What city? What's the cross street on the corner? Are you near Fernley from Murr? All right. What your phone number is 714-561-4620. Is that correct? What's going on there, ma'am? Okay. How old is he? Okay. Listen, is he still shaking? All right. Just confirming 1425 South Hamilton Boulevard in Pomona. Is that correct? 499. Paramedics are driving to you right now. I need you to stay on the line with me. I'm going to tell you what to do until we get there. Is he still shaking? Okay, lay him down on the bed. Take off all of his clothes, including his diaper. Just take everything off of him. No clothes. Take all of his clothes. Take his diaper off. Lay him on the bed. Do not hold him. Lay him on the bed. Take all of his clothes off. Take his diaper off. Take everything off of him. Completely naked. Okay. Lay him on the bed. Do not hold him. I know you want to hold him and pick him up, but we don't want to increase the body. Okay. We want to leave him on the bed. Do not restrain him. Do not put anything in his mouth. Just move everything away from him. Okay. Has he ever had a seizure before? Okay. Has he been sick lately? Is that a fever? Okay. Listen. All right. Listen to me. It's okay. This what's it sounding like? It's a febrile seizure. Okay. That's normal when babies get too hot or they're sick. Okay. The paramedics are driving to you. What I need you to do is just leave him lying on the side there on the bed. Okay. Don't hold him. Okay. Don't hold him. Just remove him. Keep him naked there. Okay. Please. Now listen. I need. Ma'am.
Can you pause it really fast?
I'm sorry?
Ma'am.
Can you pause it really fast?
I need you to listen to me here, okay? I need you to.
There you go.
What kind of seizure did it end up being?
A febrile seizure.
Okay.
We couldn't figure out, me and the doctor, because he wasn't sick before that. He did have like a minor ear infection, but by water getting in his ear or whatnot. And I was treating him for that. But that happened suddenly, and I do believe that was in connection with the fumes coming in through the walls. After,
How high was the fever?
the paramedics, I'm sorry, go ahead.
How high was the fever?
104.
Wow.
They gave him medicine the night before, and we went home about 4 a.m. because I took him in about 1, and they sent us home. We went to sleep. We woke up around 11, and I pick him up after changing his diaper, and he just begins shaking like bad. And that's when I panicked, and I just went into, trying to save his life. And they wrote in the report that I was a marijuana abuser and that it interfered with my way of caring for my children. I mean, any person on this planet can clearly see that I was able to respond and get my son to, get my son help. I was responsive and in getting him help and saving his life. And they want to put in there that I neglected him. And I was, it just hurt me so bad that knowing that my son could have died in my arms. Every time I picked him up, I just felt that shaking, even though he was fine. And then for them to bust in my house and tell me, we're going to come back for a dirty house. The paramedics showed up to my house. They were in my home. And if my home was like a hoarder, or if my home was, beyond belief where children could not be there, they would have called CPS themselves, to be honest. If they saw my house so bad that they need to get CPS involved, why didn't they call CPS on me?
Right.
So that's my cry, because I did what I could to save my son's life, and then now you want to come and threaten to take him away.
Yeah.
Children in the foster care system are 6 times more likely to die in the foster system than they are with you. I've done my research, and it's shocking.
Wow.
And I was not going to let that happen. Not willingly. You got to, over my dead body. And now I know where that term comes from.
Yeah.
And that's my fight or flight mentality. And if you want to send me to jail for trying to protect my kids, then so be it. But leave them alone. I've gone through enough trauma my entire life. And for you to come and threaten me and tell me that I'm a drug addict and that I'm not a good mother, even though being a mother's been my only job since I was 16 years old, and you took that from me.
Right.
It's disgusting. When the day I got out, it was April 1st of this year, the day before my birthday. I said, you're not going to take my happiness. You've done it so far, but I'm not going to let you take it from me completely. So I was in jail for 2 weeks waiting for LA to come pick me up, because they had me in there for a ward of the state warrant and possession. They did not charge me with child abduction. They did not charge me with driving recklessly. They did not charge me with anything that was said in those stories. So don't believe everything that you read in the paper, because it's not true.
Right. But they do all of that, and then you come out innocent, but they don't reflect that. They don't update people. So you're left looking like this criminal.
Right. And having visitations with my daughter during the COVID was very hard as well, because it was very hard to get counsel. My case has been going on since September of last year, but I've been barely appointed counsel as of June 27th of 2020. How is it that you want me to go drug test and you want me to go through all of these things when COVID is in effect and I don't have counsel?
Have you ever?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Have you ever been on drugs?
Marijuana,
Yeah.
but that's it. My mom was a heroin addict. So that affected me because she died when she was 53.
Really?
Do you know what I did? Do you know what I did on my birthday when I got out of jail? I had no kids in my possession. I cried at my mother's grave, asking her why she left so soon. Why she's not here. Because I need her. Because I don't have my children. And she knew that feeling so well. She had 13 children and they were all adopted out. So drugs is not going to be a part of my life, because my life is going to be cut short due to my illness being diabetic.
Yeah.
And I've always wanted to be a young grandmother. I didn't want to be that 80-year-old where my son's barely graduating high school. I wanted to be a young mother. I want to live as long as I can, and drugs is not something that's going to let that happen.
Right. My dad is diabetic type 1.
It's tough because it's like the worst disease you can have, because you can eat, so much. It's portion control.
Right.
And with the corona running around these jails and things like that, I was not going to go without a fight. I had to collapse on the floor in the women's bathroom in jail, because I knew that I wouldn't get out otherwise. I was out in 3 hours of doing that. or else I would have still been in there. A higher risk of catching the coronavirus, of course.
Right.
So I was in there 2 weeks waiting for Los Angeles County to come pick me up. Merced County has not filed any complaints on me for the possession of a controlled substance, which they never showed me, they never read me my rights, they never said anything to me other than, we're gonna have to take you into custody because of the warrant and we'll figure things out. They did not ask me if they can search my vehicle. They didn't do what they were supposed to do as far as read me my rights, show me what they found, etc.
Right.
My story was sold by the CHP to Merced's son, and it spread from there. So I have the torment of everybody around me looking at me like I'm a drug addict. I have my ex looking at me like I'm an unfit mother. I have my children looking at me like, oh, do you do drugs? Are you like, everybody's doubting me and pointing the finger.
You look like a drug addict. Like, you're beautiful.
Thank you. It's hard to see. It's hard to see myself that way because just everybody's pointing the finger at me, telling me that I'm this, I'm that, I need to do this, I need to do that. And I just want everybody to leave me alone. Let me live my life. Let me be mom.
I just put you up on Facebook. I'm going to share. I know you can't see me, huh?
Can't.
I'm going to show a picture of you. It's one of your profile pictures.
Thank you.
Just so everybody can see, and like, you're just stunning.
Thank you. And I want to just have my job back. I've always been mom, and this last Mother's Day I was alone, and it's sad. But I was the very first time in my entire life, being a mother, at least. And I never thought that would be. I do have my 2 older children around me, and they will vouch for me. What the investigator did mistakenly, he interviewed Carly, which hadn't been in my possession for 2 years before the raid, right?
Right.
Carly stated that I was smoking marijuana in front of her, and I sold marijuana in front of her. I don't know how this makes sense when the major narcotics unit just cleared me of having anything to do with any drugs or any drug sales. They had to be watching my house before the raid happened.
Well, and marijuana stays in your system for a long time, so.
It really does. And you got to understand, was under Andrea's influence, meaning that she was already in her home. So what the investigator did was he went to her house, spoke with her in regards to the raid. I don't know why, because it was not in my care. It was just the 2 younger children. Said that I did those things, but I also had a 17-year-old daughter, which visited with me, and the last time she was there, we always visited together. She can vouch for me and tell the investigator that that's not true. She's only saying these things because she's naive and she's listening to this lady. This lady wants my daughter because she can't have children of her own. Her children are 17, 25, and 30. She's like a 47-year-old lady, 50-year-old. She can't have any more kids. So I asked myself why a lady that age would want my children. She's unattractive. She's not doesn't have a nice body. I'm not trying to be mean, but like, I'm just trying to think psychologically, like what's going through her head, And me dating at an older age, I found out that men like women with children because they're more desirable as far as being the caregiving or the one that's not selfish, other than the one that doesn't have any children, that's middle-aged and has their own company or whatever. So it's like, that's more appealing to a man when they're trying to settle down, right?
Right.
What happens to Andrea after she gets my daughter? She gets a boyfriend. Things are looking good for her. She looks more desirable. She looks more responsible. She looks appealing to men. And I'm like, this lady is ugly as hell. Like, I don't know. I'm not trying to be mean, but she was not attractive. And all of a sudden she has a boyfriend. And it's just like, that's why she's not wanting to, like, it sounds crazy. I sound like I'm like totally overthinking this, but that's the honest to God truth. I think that she's very possessive of my daughter. She's calling her mom. I don't know what they're thinking. I mean, I would never let a child call me mom, because I could never replace anybody's mother. You know, I wouldn't make them feel uncomfortable for doing so, but it's just not my place, and I just respect that person giving birth to that child. But Carly has lost all faith in my ability to take care of her. Andrea never invited me to her graduation, her 8th grade graduation, even though I just had my son at that time. She says, I didn't want you to disappoint her. And I said, well, it wouldn't be disappointment if she didn't know I was coming. That right there is flat out manipulation, because you're going to say, oh, look at, your mom doesn't care. She's not even here. Look at, she doesn't care about you. I care about you. I'm your mom. I know that because I've been through it, you know?
And you would think, like, you would think that
she would understand.
Well, no, if she was trying to prove a point, that, you know, that if you weren't going to show up, then that would be better for her.
Right, because it makes her look like she's the loving, caring mother. And it's wrong, because of course I wanted to be there. She's not thinking about what's in the best interest of my child's happiness. You know, how happy would have my daughter been if I was there? If she would have just picked up the phone and invited me, because I wasn't aware. I had 3 children with graduations that year. Her, including my other 2 oldest. So I was trying to play catch up with all of the graduations, and for her to just cut me out, I was mad.
Did she invite the father or any other family?
No. That's something that Andrea Rincon is notorious for, is not involving any family members in my daughter's life. She spoils my daughter with BTS concerts, Comic-Con, events and things that my daughter loves, and that wouldn't, maybe it would be possible for me to actually do that myself. But during that time, I just had my son, and, it looks like Disneyland mom over there,
That's what it sounds like.
Her authentic love for me infuriates Andrea.
Wow. And
it's hard to explain that to a normal person, because it's like, you're crazy, lady. What are you thinking? Like, you're thinking too much of this, There's more to it. The nephew of Andrea Rincon posted a picture. I don't know if you could see it on my profile, if I even posted it, but I even just started a campaign. It's a picture of a little girl, it looks like, with rainbow socks on.
Where is this at? On Facebook?
It's on Facebook, but I think I have to show you. I have it in my phone. I can't see the photos because of the
and yours is
black, but let me see if I can show you on here. Hold on 1 second.
Yeah, because yours is private.
Yeah. I'm not sure if I can add you or how to do it, but let me I'll have to show you later, or maybe you could post it. I'll post it in the comments once you post the video. It's a picture of a little girl in rainbow socks with her hands and her feet bound with rope.
Wow.
I see this picture and I am furious that this person, is sharing this type of photo. Maybe it's a snuff picture, or, I don't know what to think of it, but it disturbs me. I have a screenshot of that same person, Andreas Rincon, with my daughter in a video showing that he has access to her. I submit that to my worker supervisor, Lawrence Gullum, which is a 25-year veteran in CPS. And they laugh at me. They say, you're just trying to take heat off of your story. And I said, my story is concrete. I can't change anything about that. But you see this and you think it's okay for somebody to post this on the internet and not have any consequence or investigation done. They say, no, it's not enough evidence. I said, that burn on my daughter's hand explains a lot now.
Yeah.
Because the nephew and Andrea don't talk anymore. So what was going on between those two and that picture being posted, I'm thinking extortion. Why is she showering my daughter with all these gifts? It speaks a lot of words because it's trying to keep her quiet. I told my daughter that I would buy her a phone for her birthday so she can keep in contact. This is when she's in foster care. Andrea monitors all of our calls during COVID. She's not supposed to, but I have to call my daughter on her phone. And if I say anything that she doesn't like, she jumps on the phone.
Wow.
And it creates conflict between me and her. And sometimes I just want to go over there and just, speak my mind, but I just want to stay out of jail.
Yeah.
So I have my 6-year-old daughter. What happens when I get arrested? Automatically goes to Andrea. When I've been trying to remove from her possession all this time. You mean to tell me I have a little one there now? And all of a sudden, Andrea feels that it's better for them to be together. But when I wanted to bring my daughter home, it was out of the question.
Yeah, and have them together.
Right. So she's now collecting foster care checks.
Nice.
And she's now, basically it's parental alienation on all aspects. She's influencing my daughters to lose faith in my ability to take care of them. I'm not going to let that happen with my little one.
Wow.
I know my little one's unhappy because the psychiatrist called me and says, oh, she's going through a lot of trauma. And I said, you think? She's like, this trauma is caused by me because I relied on her a little bit too much. And I said, no, that's not true, because I taught her to be independent and she speaks her mind. And I said, she's too mature for her age. I said, no, she's too independent. And she'll tell you right from wrong right off the bat without having any sugarcoat on it. She'll tell you, no, I don't like you. So I know my daughter, my 6-year-old, she's not happy, but the psychiatrist told me that it was my fault for her trauma and that she needed treatment. And she says that she's happy in her placement, which I know is not true because she hated Andrea for keeping her sister from her.
Yeah.
And I can't even talk to her without Andrea interfering. And I said, you monitor my visitations, but why don't you monitor Andrea? She's a stranger. She's benefiting from this. I am not. And they still don't listen to me. They won't investigate what's happening in there. So whatever photos are being taken, whatever is happening on that end, they're not investigating. I said, she needs pop-up visits. She needs drug tests. She needs psychiatric evaluations. She needs to have everything that I'm going through happen to her. She's not a family relative. She's not blood, anything. She shouldn't have my children. They don't remove her, even though I could show them my ability to take care of them right now. Then I said, you didn't tell me that if I get COVID, I can never see them again. It's $75 for a monitored visitation with my children, an hour.
Gosh.
2-hour minimum. I cannot afford that. They took my home when they raided my house. So therefore, I am living in a hotel, which I make more than enough money to support myself in, but they won't let my children return to me. I said, you guys can pop in anytime you want and drug test me, put me on a house, house arrest. I don't care, but give me my children back.
Right.
They won't do it. I have no contact with my children. My son went to my ex, which we get along to an extent, but he's still pointing the finger at me as far as me being an unfit parent and why CPS is on my back. He's lost faith in me as far as our relationship, or you know, it's hard to prove myself to everyone. And I just wish they would believe me.
Yeah.
I know this sounds like a book, right? It's like a novel, like that's
Oh.
unbelievable. Could be 3 movies, honestly. Yeah, that's pretty much all of it in a nutshell.
Girl, I'm sorry that you're going through this, and
Thank you.
I want an update. I want to know what ends up happening. You
I will
know,
keep you guys updated. It's very difficult to think that the time that we're living in, you know, with this coronavirus, and it's like, what if I got the coronavirus? I never get to see my children. You know, what if I died from the coronavirus? They're not thinking about that.
right?
You know, my son is 1 year old, and he was very attached to my daughter Gwendolyn, which was 5 at the time of the separation. He'd wake up and he would look around the room. If he didn't see her, he would have this very sad cry look on his face. And I'd tell her, Gwendolyn, pop out of the blankets. And he would like run to her after he saw her and bite her and just like, you know, kind of like a puppy dog.
Yeah, oh, I get it.
And he would be so happy.
Where is
And
he?
he is with his father. They separated Gwendolyn and him, Noah is the name, right away. She went to Andrea, he went to his father, and he's not been the same since. He's going through it. His father tells me that he cannot step out of the room without him screaming bloody murder. And that's traumatizing to him because he's always a happy baby. And he's not talking now, you know? I call him on the phone and he's just very quiet. Before he was just so talkative and so lively, and they kind of killed his spirit.
Poor baby.
And I can't do anything about it. I can't even hug him and tell him it's okay because they block me from that. And with COVID, it's like they're not letting me see my kids, but they can be shipped across 3 counties, gone through 30 different people, and then placed in the adoption foster home. But I can't see them. I find that very difficult to swallow.
Yeah.
And not having counsel is another thing, you know. I don't have anybody I can call to defend me. They had court without me. Nobody was there to defend me, so therefore they just go on and just consider me guilty, even though I didn't know about the court dates. I mean, in all actuality, wouldn't you think I would have all these drug tests, these classes done, parenting classes, all of this dealt with, like beforehand? Why would I drag it out this long?
Right.
It's just difficult for me to do, like, to think about. I try to just block it out of my mind, but they're my life. If I don't have them in my life, I'm pretty much dead.
Well, I thank you for sharing your story. I look forward to the update.
Thank you. I'm still fighting for them. So I have a court date, June 30th of this month. They keep extending it and prolonging it, and it's almost a year now. So I hope and pray that they just get off my back and I'm able to come back at them with a civil rights lawsuit because they violated it on all ends, in my opinion.
Good. Well, I'm going to be praying for you.
Thank you so much. It's very much needed.
All right. Well, I hope you have a good